And still, Dricus Du Plessis defeats Sean Strickland to claim his stake as the greatest middleweight on earth. We also saw Zhang Weili dominate Tatiana Suarez to claim her stake as the strawweight GOAT. It's UFC 312 and it's up next on Fighting with Friends. Welcome back to Fighting with Friends, the undisputed African fighting podcast, champion of the world. And speaking of champions, ladies and gentlemen, I with you today, the reigning, defending, undisputed, being a champion of the world. That is, of course, Brother Gaia. What's going on, Brother Gaia?
Dricus Baba, the king of the middleweight division, bro.
Absolutely. And also with us today, ladies and gentlemen, the CPS FWF BMF champion of the world and a professional record now 23-0. It's Fazim Al Nino, aka BAM!
Yes, sir. What's good, boys? How is
What's
she?
up, big boys?
Oh,
It is
top of the moon.
UFC 312. Dricus is the champion, and all is good in the world.
Yeah.
So as we do, boys, as always,
Yes, sir.
we start.
Top of the card.
Let's go.
And yeah, we did see Dricus Du Plessis. What can we say? The man put on a clinic here. He won all 5 rounds for me. Man looked extremely good. I'm not sure if there's anything to be said about Sean Strickland underperforming on the night, but PG, from your side, bro, what did you see here?
Yeah, dude, you said it. You called it right. I think also he won pretty much every single round. I think the first round was maybe the closest one. Some people were giving Sean Strickland maybe the 4th round, but that's the round where he broke his nose. So I don't know how he could have won that 4th round, to be honest. I think the closest round they had was the first one, but Dricus also vividly won that first round. Just going back when I looked at a lot of the recaps from a lot of the fans on YouTube and so on, a lot of the American fans are still gutted. It's almost like they're making so much excuses for Strickland. They're like, oh, what about it possibly could be the staph infection that he had? He looked like he was underweight. I'm like, no, he just got his ass whipped. He said it himself. His exact words were, he beat me fair and square. Because the Dutchman beat me fair and square. And even when they went backstage, he was like, straight up, all jokes aside, you're the baddest motherfucker. You are legit. You are number one. Like, you are the king. He said you're the best in the world right now. So, and then it takes a lot for one fighter to say that about another fighter that you're still very competitive against. It's not like Strickland's going to retire after this. He's still in the division. So to say that about the person that you're in the division with speaks volumes about what Dricus is actually doing. I thought he was absolutely flawless, even though Dricus's numbers was slightly less. I think he threw 20 or 30 strikes less than he did in the first fight, but he was a lot more accurate this time. And I think Dricus was a lot more poised. He was a lot more... saying a lot more because he was ever increasingly better in this fight. Everything that he threw was a lot precise. Like, he hit the target more with more precision. And Dricus, he was active every second. He wasn't a passive fighter in this fight. You know, like in video games, you have this thing called passive and active sort of offense when a person has it. And Dricus was offensive in every section of this fight, even though when he did take a breath, he was still very offensive in that moment. Strickland couldn't really go forward. When he wanted to go forward, Dricus shut it down with a nice body kick, or he threw a hard leg kick, which was quite interesting to see in this fight. That Strickland didn't check any of the kicks. He didn't check any of the kicks the way he did in the first fight. I think in the first round, Dricus was throwing quite heavy kicks in that first fight, and all of it got checked by Strickland. In this fight, Strickland didn't check any of them. It's like Dricus had every move. Like, he just knew that he could beat Strickland in this fight in every avenue, and it looked like that for me. Because Dricus' eyes were just locked in from that first round. But he was dialed into this fight and fought a fantastic performance. I can't go onto too much detail about what Dricus did well. He just did everything he did in the first fight, but more of it. He had, you know what I mean? He was just not as what's the word I'm looking for? He wasn't as reckless. He wasn't just trying to headhunt as much. He just knew that if I'm going to strike, I'm going to strike cleanly, and I'm going to land on Strickland. And he did exactly that. And what a performance, guys! Like, honestly, not to hype him up because I'm South African, but I really didn't think anyone was going to beat Dricus in this division. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel confident that anyone was going to have a style that could actually beat him other than Alex Pereira. Even Hamza CHIMAEV, I don't think he can beat Dricus. Honestly, I just don't think he has it. But Alex Pereira has got something for Dricus. So that what I'm saying is essentially is that I don't think Caio Baralho, I don't think Hamzat, I don't think Fluffy Hernandez, Imavov, any of these guys, they don't have what they have. They don't have the skill set or the attributes to beat someone like DDP. DDP is just way too intense. And I think the best thing that we can take away from this fight from Dricus is that the guy didn't even break a sweat. If you watch his interview in the octagon, he wasn't out of breath. The dude looked like he was so calm. He even said, like, I wanted another round. Give DDP 10 rounds rather than 5 rounds, guy. That's how good he is. He can let it go. He can go as far as he wants. I mean, I watched another podcast earlier, and one of the gentlemen was saying that you might want to give Dricus also the nickname the machine like Marab, because the guy just looked like he wasn't going to get tired in this fight. So big ups to the DDP. He made a very much a performance that made a big statement. And now I think a lot of the fight fans, as much as the professional pundits, have to eat their words.
Fair play, VG. So just on that point, I mean, yeah, Sean Strickland, I mean, we can sit here and say that it was a great performance from Dricus, and it absolutely was. But my question to you, Babu, is was Dricus that much better on the night, or can we give kind of any credence to this whole thing about Sean Strickland underperforming, possible staph infection? Because I looked at the stats and his numbers were reduced by 50% in terms of his output compared to the last fight. He had a drop of 50%. I think he threw 400 and something in the first fight, and here it was like 180 or something like that. So, Babu, from that side, was Dricus that good, or was Sean just poor on the night? What do you think?
I think Dricus was very good, but I also think Sean's output was very stagnant. One of the graphics before the fight started was that in the last 2 fights, Dricus has been outstruck by Sean Strickland as well as Izzy. And then to see Dricus basically outstruck Sean Strickland in every round is great success to him. And then for him, I think like the difference in the first and the second fight in terms of kicks is like Sean was able to check all Dricus's kicks because Dricus wasn't going as high in the earlier rounds. So in this fight, Dricus was mixing it up very well, going low, going to the body, going high, going low, going to the body, going high, or he switched it up every time. He was either landing to the body or landing on Sean's shoulders, which is something that like I saw Mighty Mouse and him discuss. Because of Sean's high guard, he knew he might not get a head kick, but every time he's landing on the shoulders, and that does make your shoulders a bit heavy. So the jab doesn't come out as frequently. And then just the way he was pushing Sean back in every round. And then, by the fourth, just shattering his nose. And then just looking to empty the gas tank, which he said, like, he tried to get the finish, but unfortunately, Sean is just like a dog in himself. And then Sean also, I don't want to say like underperformed, but I do think like it wasn't like a typical Sean Strickland performance, and I think a lot of it is down to like the training camp that he did have, because he had a lot of Brazilian stand-up fighters that he was training with. I know Carl Baralho, he trained with Carl, he trained with Alex Pereira, and he had like a lot of stand-up fighters, but they're so much more how do I say, cleaner in terms of technique. Yeah, in terms of that way. And in Dricus is so unorthodox that like you can't really mimic like how you're gonna go into the fight. So I think like that just surprised Sean a little bit with like especially like the kicking game, which I think was the difference in the
Absolutely, Bobby. Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. I'll come to you in a second, BG. But just on that question mark kick that Dricus was throwing, it was giving Sean a very difficult time because, like you said, he was mixing it up to the body, to the head. And the telegraph is exactly the same. You know, the way he lifts his leg, you don't know where it's going to go. So I think that question mark, like you said, Babu, was giving him a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, I want to two things. I'll start with Dricus. To add to what Babu was saying, another thing that he did really well in this fight, which I think is what actually made Strickland fight very differently, is the same thing Dricus did to Izzy, where there's never a moment where Dricus is pausing and he's letting you throw something at him. Whenever Strickland wanted to come in to throw something, Dricus threw something at him. Whether it was a body kick, a low kick, whether it was the high kick, whether it was a jab or a hard straight to the body, Dricus hit him with something that forced Strickland to not actually attack. He had to almost reset every single time. And I think that played very much big dividends as to why Dricus' numbers was a lot better, why he outstruck him. And that's a very difficult style to fight against. It may not look, like Babu was saying, it may not look as clean as textbook, but I do think it's actually very clean. I think it's very textbook because it's a style that no one else can do. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. It doesn't mean it's not right. It just means you guys haven't caught up to it just yet. And another thing I wanted to add, lastly, I want to touch base on AD. I'm looking at the first fight between Dricus and Strickland, and I remember Luke Thomas came out with that stat with the 50%, and he actually corrected it. It wasn't 50% because the numbers weren't uploaded correctly. The first fight is showing me now the Strickland threw 183 strikes in their first fight. So he didn't go down by 50%. He actually threw almost similar numbers to he did in this fight as well. But Dricus Strickland threw 128 in the second fight. So he threw less. He threw 40 punches less or 40 strikes less. But Dricus was just active in every second. Even the moments when they were resetting, Dricus was active in the reset as well. And that's what made Sean have to pause. He couldn't actually go and do something about it because Dricus is throwing at you now. So you have to defend this. You know what I mean? And he wasn't prepared to match Dricus head for head because when he tried it in the first fight, it didn't work. So yeah, we have to give props to Dricus a lot more because I'm sick and tired of hearing all the excuses on all the social media so far about Strickland not being up for it. He's undersized, he had staph infection, he didn't throw as much, he looked like he took a big game. No, dude, Dricus was just that much better than him. Finish and clear, he was just that much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I do agree there. BG was light years ahead of Strickland on the night. And just as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking to myself now, Strickland's title shot came pretty much as a fluke, right? He was ranked number 7. He got a title shot, he won. Since then, he beat Costa by a very close split decision.
Yes.
So I'm thinking now, is Strickland actually that good? Or has he just kind of been exposed now for the level that he's at? Or has he kind of been shown out to the world now for how good he really is or how bad he really is? Babu, any thoughts there?
I think he's good, and I think he deserves to be in the top 5. Whether he's number 1 or in that top 5, just under the champion, I'm not sure. But taking into account, he did beat Nasruddin Imavov, who's ranked number 3, and then he did beat Adesanya, who had an off night, unfortunately, and then he did beat Paulo Costa, like you said. So he has beaten people in that top 10. I don't know if his rank is like to his level, but I do think he deserves to be within that realms.
Fair play. BG, your thoughts on that one before we go to what's next?
Yeah, I don't think Strickland is as what people are claiming to say now that he's not that good, because a lot of the American fans are like, he talks the talk, but he doesn't walk the walk now after that performance. Easy as good. I don't think it's that. I think the other competitions is just that much better. And Strickland's style is a difficult style to fight against. It does tire you out because it does walk you down. And we see a lot of other fighters when they stand up with him, they tend to rely on a lot of heavy things to get Strickland out of there, which takes a lot more energy to do. To throw a hard hook or a hard uppercut, it's a lot more energy than to throw a jab and a tip. And if Strickland's going to jab and tip a lot of the time, you're not having to fight him head to head, then Strickland's going to beat you. He's going to walk you down the whole time. I mean, we look at Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa is a scary fucking striker, powerful striker. But Strickland beat him. Yes, it was a very close fight, but Strickland did beat him. You know what I mean? That style of Strickland's did work on him. And people consider Paulo Costa as one of the most deadly strikers in the division. But according to me, I don't know if he's a deadly fighter in that division. He's a good striker, but not a fighter. They all just outbeat him, they out wrestle him, or they outgas him every single time. So Strickland, I agree with Babu. I think he's well deserved to be ranked in the top 5, top 6. To be honest with you, I don't know if he's number 1 because I do think that CHIMAEV beat Strickland as well. I don't know if Strickland beats Izzy again, but I mean, I'll leave it up to you to ask that question, and I'll get into depth a bit about who I think Strickland should fight next. But to answer the question, I do think he's well deserved in the top 6.
Fair play. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, let us know in the comments your thoughts on Sean Strickland and his future in the middleweight division. So speaking of the future, boys, we're gonna have a look at what's next now. I think that the Khamzat Dricus fight has pretty much been announced.
Yes, sir.
So as far as Sean Strickland goes, Babu, what are your thoughts for what's next for him here?
Beat him Imavov. I think Imavov, after his last performance, everybody simultaneously agreed that he needs one more to see like if he's title contender worthy. And I think Strickland just lost. So I would say Strickland either against Nasruddin, or I would like to see Strickland Whittaker maybe, but I don't think
Yes.
like Adesanya is going to face Strickland so soon, because then he's like back in the realms of chatter, and I would like to see like new up and comers, and the only new up and comers that's in that top 5 is Chimaev and Imavov. So I would like to see them like being active.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't mind that fight, Strickland Imavov. It's just my thing is, if Strickland wins that fight, and then what? Does he fight for the title
Yeah.
again?
And
That's
they
where
fought
Imavov
already.
is kind of on his way, right? So that's why I
Yeah.
like the Whittaker fight, because they're both coming off
Yes.
a loss. But
Yes.
BG, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with AD on this one as well. Like, stylistically, and also for the sake of the company, are they going forward? You don't want to get in a position where you make the fight and it kind of stifles the movement of the division. You want them almost to move kind of freely. So I personally think that Strickland should be fighting Whittaker next, even though Adesanya did tell Whittaker, no, let me fight against him next. I want to get that one back. I think Izzy must wait. I think Whittaker can fight Strickland next because they haven't fought yet. So that would be a very good new, fresh kind of fight to see, and will kind of make the rankings change in a way that isn't unfair to anybody. Imavov, I personally feel like he should wait to get the winner between between Dricus and Hamzat, because he did enough to get to that position. Personally, I think Izzy should fight against Caio Baralho, because Caio Baralho is the next person that's supposed to be. Personally, Caio Baralho should actually have been in number 4 and drop Izzy and Whittaker, because both of them have lost, and Caio Baralho has been on a winning streak at the moment, and he was in the top 5. So I personally feel like Izzy versus Caio Baralho next, Whittaker versus Strickland next, 11 fought. Hamzat versus Dricus Du Plessis and Nasruddin Imavov can wait for the winner between Dricus and Hamzat.
Fair play, BG. Babu, you were laughing at something BG said there.
Yeah, just don't like Imavov. If he fights for the title, whether it's Chimaev or Dricus, like I think he loses. So yeah, I don't think like it's worth the wait, man. Because like
But the thing is,
like now, so the next time we see him fight is probably December, if all goes well.
Yeah, but then he can fight if because the thing is, it sounds like Dricus and Hamzat's only going to happen later in the year, probably fight International Fight Week or possibly August or October. If that's the case, then that division is going to be on hold for a while, to be quite honest, because then we're not really going to see Dricus fight again after August in December against Imavov. You know what I mean? So that's why Imavov only been 28 years old. He can chill, bro. He's young. He can literally just like, he can chill it out. And if he wants to fight again, then he can fight against the winner of Strickland and Whittaker, or he can fight against the winner between Izzy and Caio Baralho.
So in the post presser, asking about it, Dricus said, "Oh, you know what? Like, yeah, the Chimaev fight is first, and then after the Chimaev fight, he's thinking of the Pereira fight."
Yeah.
This man is not thinking of Nasruddin, because he asked, "Who would you rather want to see me fight, Pereira or Nasruddin? What makes more sense for me?"
Yeah.
And I think like if Nasruddin does wait it out, there's a chance that he's not even gonna get the shot, because Dricus might say like, "Hey, I just beat Strickland, I just beat Adesanya, I just beat Whittaker, I just beat all your top guys. Give me something that I want, and I want
they will
Pereira
fight. They will fight, bro.
That could be end of the year if all goes well
year.
with Pereira, because I don't think Nasruddin hops in front of Pereira. Should DDP beat Chimaev?
Yeah, he will beat Chimaev first and foremost. He beats everybody in the UFC until the day he retires. But to be quite honest with you, I think the reason why they're doing that one with Pereira is because Pereira's 38 years old. He realistically only has a year and a half left, maybe 2 years max. So Dricus is 31, Imavov is 28. these guys have got another 5 to 6 years of fighting, so they will probably meet again, no, without a doubt. And if Imavov does what he does all the time, he will always be in that position to fight Dricus next. I personally feel like all three of the names you just mentioned now will be respectful in understanding why they want to do Dricus and Pereira next, because Pereira doesn't have much after this, if we're being completely honest. You know what I mean? You think he's going to fight after 40 years old? I don't think so. I think he made his cash. He's fighting super fights. He beats Uncle Live, fights against Dricus. Win or lose that fight, he might call it after that because he will be 40. You know what I'm saying? So, where's Imavov, 28 years old, bruh. He can still chill. He can still fight the other guys and still get the title shot again because he still has years. He has lots of years to go, my friend. Lots of years.
I just think that man need to fight somebody else before he fight Dricus. Otherwise, he's sitting out for a long time.
So how about Imavov, Baralho, Strickland, Whittaker, and Izzy could, and of course Dricus comes out, and then Izzy sits and waits because he just fought now. He lost now, so.
And he lost.
I do like the Cal Baralho Imavov fight because they both are coming off wins. Baralho's on quite a streak now, I believe.
He's on a streak, yeah.
these seem to be the two kind of like, you know, up and coming prospects in the division. They both relatively young. They're both on streak. So for me, I like that fight as a title eliminator. Easy to wait out and see what happens because
he can wait.
He's just coming off a loss now. But okay, BG, any final thoughts on this one before we move?
Yeah, I think those are the best matchups, and I do agree that Imavov and Baralho are the two hottest prospects coming out of that division. Obviously, Khamzat, he jumped the ladder now because he beat Whittaker, and I do think as much as people's giving him grief for that, it's deserved, my friend. You know, I mean, he beat the guy that no one could beat for a long time, and he did it in 1 round. So Khamzat deserves that third place spot, and I think he deserves the title shot. So I'm looking forward to seeing Dricus wiping the floor of Khamzat.
Indeed. Babu, last word to you, and then we'll keep it moving.
Nah, just DDP on top, bro. DDP on top.
All right, boys. In that case, we'll keep it going to our second title fight of the evening. That was a women's strawweight bout. And here, despite all of the naysayers who were having their words in the previews, Zhang Weili did come up tops against Tatiana Suarez. So VG, what happened here, bro? Why? What happened to Tatiana on the night?
Nothing, bro. She just got outdogged. She just got beaten up. She got beaten up by someone that was a lot better. And Weili went to go and prove to everybody because she hasn't fought so frequently. It's almost like a y'all must have forgot kind of moment. And it's like, let me show you guys why I'm still number 2 pound for pound behind Valentina Shevchenko, which I think they both should be number 1 actually because they're that good. But Tatiana, one of the things why I was hyping her up for the fight is because of talent and because of what I've seen her done in the UFC for so long. And one thing I will add to this, and why I think it's the reason she lost, is when you haven't tasted that realm of fighting championship fights yet, you can't. There's nothing you can go off and say I'm going to beat this person so and so and so, just based off what of your pure skill. Weili has been in title fights for the last 4 years of her life only. You know what I mean? She's been in this realm consistently. She's fought against the top of the food chain consistently, and she's lost also. So she knows what it's like to have gone down that hole of losing and then coming back and then losing a title fight and then coming back again. She's been through that already, and whereas Tatiana Suarez has never seen that before. She has no understanding of what that's like to have taken a loss. This is her first loss in her career, and it comes in the hands of a champion. So you could clearly see at the end of that first round that Tatiana was like, whoa, where am I and what is this kind of fight? Because Tatiana's best attributes, which was her wrestling, got nullified after that first. She only had the takedown for 3 minutes of that first round, Tatiana Suarez. The round is 5 minutes long. So that means that towards the end of that first round, Zhang Weili reversed her. And that you could see Tatiana's eyes went like this, and she was like, oh my word, this is actually not what I expected to happen. Because from then, she was on the back foot for the majority of the fight. She was losing every single round. She lost every single position. When she tried to shoot for takedowns, Weili just reversed her. When she tried to do guillotines, Weili just popped out, put her on the back again. I'm looking at the stats here, and Weili's got 232 strikes over Tatiana 63. Crazy. It's a whitewash, bro. It's an absolute whitewash is what that was. Tatiana Suarez attempted 15 takedowns, only landed 1. Weili attempted only 3, landed 1 of that 3. And Weili dominated her. Dominated her. So and one thing I didn't enjoy about it, I enjoyed the fight overall. I enjoyed everything about it. The only thing I didn't enjoy about the fight was the almost lack of sportsmanship from Tatiana Suarez. She didn't want to take hands. She looked like she just didn't want to engage with Weili after the fight, which showed lack of professionalism in my side. But I think what happened there mainly was Tatiana Suarez was just completely gutted that she got beaten by her best style. Her opponent beat her in the same way she thought she was going to win. So, yeah, Weili, y'all must have forgot. Look, I did say in the preview that I was reluctantly gonna, not reluctantly, it's gonna be the first time I was gonna bet against Weili. But I'm also not surprised that the fight did go the way it did because Weili has beaten everyone she fought against. Obviously, granted, Rose Namajunas, but she beat everyone. And whereas Tatiana Suarez hasn't fought title fights, so it was a new battleground for her to experience. And I think she's going to come back a lot stronger than this. It's a first loss, first championship loss. I think she's going to come back a lot more powerful than that because you don't come back as a weaker fighter after getting beaten 5 rounds straight or 5-0. You have to come back stronger than that.
Yeah, agreed. And yeah, just to your point, BG, like you said, she's never lost a fight, and for her to be like so exposed, you know what I mean? Like you said, beaten at her own game. It must have been very difficult for her to take, and of course that showed. But Babu, from your side, so what can you tell us here, bro?
Watching this, it just seemed like Tatiana was lost, bro. She didn't know where she was. I don't even think like BG said, like the lack of sportsmanship. I don't even think she even understood what just happened to her. It's because she sits on the stool at the end of the first and she's asking like, "Did I win?" And the coach is like, "Yeah, you won that round." And then she asked the same question again, and it's like, "Are you here in the same room with us?"
Yeah.
And like, even like the takedowns and the setup and everything, it just came like from a mile away, so Weili could see that. But I think I had my doubts going into this fight about Weili and like if she was the GOAT of this division or like is she like really that much better than everybody. And I think this fight like made me believe that she is that much better because she was really like a evolved fighter in this fight because like you thought like a ground game wasn't as good, but she reversed so many times on Tatiana. Tatiana even tried to land a couple of takedowns, and Weili still landed in top position, and she just showed these levels to the game. Whether it was with striking, whether it was in clinches, and whether it was on the ground. So just hats off to her, and I think like there's an exciting fight towards the end of the year.
You think it's going to be that far? Oh, okay. Sorry, Eddie. Go.
But yeah, BG, I was going to ask, do you have any final thoughts on this one before we talk about the future of these two fighters?
I didn't think it was going to be that one-sided. I thought it was going to be a bit more competitive. But sheesh, that was very one-sided. And I think that's the big takeaway from me is that the one athlete proved why she's the best, and the other athlete needs to realize that she needs to go up more levels.
Yeah, agreed. So let's talk about the future of these two fighters. I mean, the women's strawweight division isn't exactly what would say the most competitive. I mean, we got Mackenzie Dern here in at 6, and she's like, also hit and miss. So it's not like the division's exactly stacked. So BG, I know you mentioned that if Weili wins this fight, she has to fight Shevchenko. Are you still in that boat, or has your opinion changed subsequently?
Well, based on what you said now about the division not being extremely competitive, I have to go with that. But what makes that fight not happen between Weili and Shevchenko, excuse me, is that Shevchenko's got an opponent in Manon Fiorot, and she's there, and Fiorot has got to start making a campaign for the fight. I agree with what Michael Bisping said, because she has been beating everyone, even Erin Blanchfield in that Valentina Shevchenko's division. Both those women can make a case to fight against Shevchenko for a title next. Shevchenko doesn't have that many years left. She's 36 years old, so she's going to have to fight at least maybe twice this year, and then she's going to have to maybe think about the future. So personally, I think I would love to see Weili versus Shevchenko. It's not often that we added a champion versus champion matchup for the women's divisions. I don't think we've seen that before. Correct me if I'm wrong if we have. Did we get that?
Cyborg, Amanda.
And
Nunes.
Amanda, yes, the featherweight and bantamweight, yes, you're right. That was the one. But other than that, like it's not often we get to see that kind of doubleweight status thing kind of happen. So it would be nice to see, and especially between women that you see on screen right now, Weili and Shevchenko. If you can ask the panel right now, both Adi and Babu, do you see anyone in any of the women's divisions beat Weili and Shevchenko?
Look, I'm never gonna bet against my girl Natalia Silva, but she's the only one. She's the only one I'd support. But even so, even as much as I like her, I don't see her beating either of these women, unfortunately.
None of them.
As difficult as it is for me to say that, that's the truth.
Another thing also that makes it difficult to do these matchups for the women's division is that the women's fighters don't fight as frequently as the men. We don't see them getting put on cards as much. So we're not seeing the rankings being moved around, and you know what I mean. It's pretty rare that we see these fighters go out and we get to see rankings change. I mean, Verena Jandaroba, they've been hyping her up to fight against Weili for a title for how long now? She's been on a win streak for how long? But she fought once last year. It's like, where's the matchups to this guy? The UFC not put these matchups together? Because why are these women just waiting the whole time? We saw Lupi Godinez fight, Tabitha Ricci fight twice in the last 3 years. It's like, come on, my bro. Like, let this woman fight more frequently. Give them more fight cards to fight on so that we can actually have these rankings move so there can be more incentives to the divisions. Because a lot of the fight fans are like, even for this fight against Weili and Tatiana, there's a lot of mixed feelings about the fight. People thought it was absolutely boring. So it's like, there needs to be more injection of entertainment and press to the women's fighters so we can start talking a bit more about the divisions in an extensive way, So that's why I'm going Tatiana versus Valentina Shevchenko. Because where is Manon Ferro? We don't see her in any of the media. No one's talking about that fight.
Weili versus Shevchenko.
Yes. I want to see that fight because no one's talking about the contenders as much in both of their divisions. You know what I mean? Like Manon Ferro has been on a massive tear in the UFC, right? I think she only lost twice or once. But we don't see people building up this contendership so she can fight against Shevchenko. So we can actually so we can get invested into the division for both Weili and Shevchenko. You know what I mean? So I think the UFC needs to do something different there so we can actually learn more about Jandaroba. Because do you want to see Shannon fight against Weili again? I don't want to see that. I think Weili's going to beat her again.
Yeah.
So there needs to be more investment in the rest of the divisions so that these women can actually have more incentives to fight more frequently, so we can actually see it more often, so we have more views to go on, more information to go on about.
Very good point. Very good point. I think some very good points actually, BG. But from your side, Babu, as far as Tatiana Suarez goes, what do you think happens next for
her? I think she's in there. I think like she'll probably either go against Amanda Lemos or somebody. Like I don't think she's. I think they're gonna. I think
she
like
beat her already.
UFC, but it's so tough with that division. Like there's not a lot of movement. Like you just said, like they don't fight quite often. So there's a couple of fighters there that sit out inactively.
Yeah, a lot of them
for long periods of time. I mean, Tatiana Suarez hasn't been active for like the last year and a half. And even though it's due to injury or due to her fighting off the cancer, I think there's like still so much inactivity that she could stay like as a number one contender. And then I think like the next fight for Weili is the Bullet, and I think like the Bullet is just like one of those fighters that carries that presence around, and like people want to watch her because she gets finishes. She's an all-round fighter, and if I'm being honest, like I think like she's one of the best, like up there.
She's the best.
However, but like there was a double champ at one point, and
that's the only fighter who beat her.
Yeah, and I think like besides bar them two, like they are like in that GOAT status, and I think the Bullet, like if she wants to, she could come down to fight Weili, take that title, and then go up, and then look at Juliana Pena. Like, what do you have to offer? Do you want to put that title on the line? Because she can fluctuate in weight, and She knows she has the skill set over the other two champions. She's just that well-rounded.
Facts.
Yeah, definitely agree there, Babu.
80.
PG, final word to you, sir.
Yeah, I didn't give my what's next for Tatiana. I think for Tatiana, she beat Jessica Andrade, she beat Amanda Lemos. She only fight that she didn't fight in that top five is Jandaroba and Yan Chanan. Yan Chanan. So that should be her next fight, one of those two.
Which one of those would you like to see?
Probably Jandaroba, yeah. Probably, but Jandaroba has done well enough for me to actually give her a fight against Weili, to be honest with you. So I would probably go Shannon.
Yeah, no, I think I would agree with that as well, brother. Yan Chanan fight. They haven't fought before, the two of them, right? Tatiana and Yan Chanan. Yeah, then I would say do that, something fresh for the division. Hopefully they can put on a show for the fans and kind of revive this women's strawweight division.
Yes, sir.
But okay, boys, any final thoughts here before we move on to the rest of the card?
Not really. I think we can move here.
Then, of course, we have to talk about boy Justin Tafa. And Baba, I'm gonna let you do the honors here because tell us what happened here, bro.
But this one, I don't know. But they clinch this one, the elbow him one time, he go down, he cover up, he still complain after they stop the fight, like, yeah, that's my way of defense. I don't know what the fuck he's doing in training, bro. And I think PG even said, like, wow, on the live stream, like, this one just roll out of bed, bro. Stick it to the fight. I don't even think this man have a training camp or anything. You just get up, go. And it shows. Like, fuck me, bro.
Show him, Babu. Let me.
Fight, bro.
Yeah.
Fuck this.
You never do it, dude.
To be fair, no? We were all saying to you, bro.
Don't do it.
Don't bet on Justin Tafa, bro. Don't bet on Justin Tafa. But
yeah.
But the thing is, I guess we all learned the hard way. So I guess it was just your turn to learn.
That's so true, AD.
But okay, PG, from your side, another fight was short. Anything you'd like to touch on here?
Yeah. I'm keen to see a little bit more of Taliesin Texeira. I would love to see what else he can offer. I mean, he came into this fight with I think he only lost one fight in his last 10 or something like that. So he came into the fight with a good record and a good presence of a knockout specialist kind of guy. So I mean, he's freakishly tall, like Babu was saying, like Stefan Struve kind of vibes. He's very, very tall. But for Justin Tafa, get this man out of here, bro. Please get the Tafa brothers out of the UFC. All they do is lose, and UFC's paying these guys to lose all the time. And also the disrespect to Mark Hunt, my bro. Like, come on, don't compare Tafa to Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt was a two K1 champion, 2 times K1 champion, K1 champion, and he fought for a title in the UFC. It's a lot bigger than Justin Tafa. Don't compare him to the legendary Mark Hunt. Please don't do that. Get this guy out of the UFC. He's wasting money for the organization.
Agreed. So just coming back to Texeira, who would you like to see him fight next in this shit show of a heavyweight division, to be honest? But yeah, who would you like to see him fight next? Does he get a ranked opponent? Or?
Oh, they 8-0. He's 8-0. Sorry, not 10-0. 8-0. You asking me, ID?
Yeah.
Does he get a ranked opponent? I mean, it's the heavyweight division, right? If we look at that top 15, right? If we go from, let's say, Derek Lewis, which is ranked number 9, and we go all the way down, any one of those guys could be ranked outside of the top 15.
Yeah.
That's how fucked up the division is, really. So I think if we can give Texeira literally any one of those fighters up until up until Derek Lewis, fight any one of those guys. Taito Ivasa would be a liquor fight for him. The other Mark Parkin, Dontail Mayers. I don't even know who these guys are. I've never seen these oaks fight in my life. I don't even know why they're there, who they are. Waldo Cortez Acosta. Who the fuck is Waldo? Last I checked, Waldo was a fine Waldo comic book kind of thing. So, like, you know what I mean? Give him any one of these guys. Give him any one of these guys, and it'll be okay. It'll be nice to watch him fight.
Yeah, that is unfortunately the truth here. But yeah, Babu, any final thoughts here before we lay this one to rest and never speak of Justin Tafa again?
Yo, bro. Yo, I'm done, bro.
Yeah, get him out, bro.
All right, on that note, we'll keep it moving, boys. So yeah, I didn't, like I mentioned to you guys, I didn't manage to see these last two fights in the main card, so I will now hand it over to you, BG.
Yes, sir.
Anything else on the card you'd like to talk about here?
I will just talk about the draw because that was an interesting call. Obviously, coming into the fight, both Jake Matthews and Jimmy Crute was like, are they going to revive their careers? Are these Australian boys going to do something more so they can bring them back into a fan favorite kind of status? I think Jake Matthews fought okay, but I think Jimmy Crute and Rodolfo, what do you say his name?
Rodolfo.
Rodolfo. I think this fight, personally, I would have actually given it to Bellato, Rodolfo. I felt he actually did a little bit more. I didn't see a draw. I think Jimmy Crute did well in the first round, but then he was getting pieced up in the second round. Leg kicked him. I think his ankle was basically giving in. He couldn't stand on his leg anymore. Then they basically wrestled in the third round and it was kind of even. But I think Rodolfo, whatever, kind of did a little bit more for me. To see them call a draw just kind of stamps the general consensus on most of the Australian fighters. They only have Rob Whittaker, really. So, if we've been honest, the draw kind of stamps the perception that people have of Jimmy Crute. Because AD, you brought it up before the fight, before we started recording this episode. He has now 2 draws in 3 fights. That's not a good thing. This is not football. This is not soccer. This is fighting. You don't want to be drawn with people all the time, my friend. So it doesn't look good on his name. As for Bellato, we will see more of him. We will see more of him. I'm not too sure if we're going to see more of Jimmy Crute. Both guys didn't fight very impressively. I was watching Big John McCarthy's podcast just before we went on to the recording, and they were saying this fight was actually one of the most amazing fights on the main card. They felt that the main event, the coming event, was the most boring fights on the card. And I was like, you guys suck ass because American fighters lost. That's why you're so boo-hoo about the fight card. Realistically, Jimmy Crute's fight and Jake Matthews' fight below that was absolutely boring. Prado, if we're gonna move down the list, 80, Francisco Prado needs to learn how to defend because he defends by taking shots. And you can't keep doing that because it doesn't look good in the judge's eyes. You can't defend by taking the shot and then striking back. You actually have to defend and then strike. So, yeah, I want to see a bit more of him. I want to see him level up, Francisco Prado level up. But big ups on Jake Matthews. And then the last person I want to talk about is the fight just below that, 80. It's the last card on the prelims. Jake Jenkins, another Australian guy, all the hype in the world. And then he came into the fight and he got tapped out in the third round by Gabriel Santos. So, yeah, well, not a good night for the Australian fighters. But big ups to Gabriel Santos doing it for Brazil.
Fair play, BG. And we did, of course, also see the brother of Ilia Topuria, Alexander Topuria, make his debut. So, Bobby, you managed to see the whole card. What did you make of Ilia's older brother's performance here?
I think it was a decent fight. Like both fighters started off a bit tentative. Like I said previously, Kobe was Alexander Volkanovski's fighter, and then Topuria, obviously the younger brother to him.
Yeah.
And
he's the older brother.
Yeah,
he's the older one.
He's the older one. But yeah, I think both fighters just like on debut came out, looked a bit gun shy as they worked their way into the fight. I think by the third round, Topuria just put on the whole pace, and I think like the first round was up for debate. The second also looked like Topuria was towards the end of the second. Topuria looked like he was coming on, and then by the third, he just looked like the clear winner. I think Kobe he needs a bit of work. I think I don't know if he was just intimidated by the whole experience, but like I guess like he just didn't look up to scratch, and then Topuria just looked like he was in his element by the third round. So I'm excited to see what he does in that bantamweight division, if he can continue like growing there, or like what's next for him.
Yeah. Yeah, again, like I did see the fight, and I wasn't like overly impressed, but it was a solid performance from Alexander Topuria. Nothing too flashy, just very good technical boxing from what I could see, much like his brother. But of course, him being a Topuria, I was expecting a knockout, which didn't come. So it is what it is. But yeah, it was a solid performance. I think he got the job done on the night, but there were no balls and whistles that came along with that performance.
Okay.
Okay, boys. before we wrap up, I just want to get your final thoughts on the card. Of course, a rating for the card and any final comments. Go to you first, BG.
Overall rating of the card, I'm gonna give it a solid 6. I wanted to give it excuse me. I wanted to give it a 7. But I can't honestly just because it lacked to be it wasn't very desirable, to be honest with you. The biggest takeaway from the card is that Dricus did really well and he won, and Weili also had a fantastic performance. And they are the ones who actually really carried the score rating of this fight card. So yeah, big ups to those two.
Fair play, BG. 6 out of 10. I thought that was quite kind. Babu, from your side, sir?
4, brother. 4.
Sounds
You
about
see?
right, yeah.
Maybe I am being too kind.
The Tafa losing, I'm sure.
No, I didn't even take that into account. I just from fight quality, like
Okay.
the Jimmy Crute Rodolfo fight, like by the end of the like midway through the second round, it looked. I know it ended as a draw, but it didn't look like a draw. It just looked like Rodolfo was taking Jimmy Crute to work because he was gassed. And then the Jake Matthews, Francisco Prada, Jake Matthews just showed a veteran performance to a young puppy. So, but like the main card was basically you didn't need to watch the whole fight through. You knew the result like halfway through the fight. So they just wasted extra time for you.
Yeah, look, I do agree. From the outset, it was quite an underwhelming card on paper. Of course, happy that Dricus got the job done, but yeah, not really too much to write home about. So I'm gonna give it the same score as Babu. That's a 4 out of 10. So yeah, hopefully the next card will be a little bit better. But ladies and gentlemen, of course, let us know in the comments your thoughts on the card. What was your score? Okay, boys, then we're gonna wrap it up here. And of course, say thank you to all of our subscribers for the continued support. We are on the way to 1,000 subscribers, and we'd be very grateful if you could help us to make that happen. Have a fantastic week, everybody, and we will be back to bring you more fight content next time on Fighting with Friends.